What is biohacking?
Need for Speed खेला है कभी बचपन and people use cheat codes to go on the high level. Biohacking is exactly that. It's basically you are trying to, there are good and bad bacteria and you need to have both in order to survive. You cannot have only good bacteria. If you have only good bacteria, you will die. Your stomach is this big.
This fist.
This fist.
Only.
So now what you need to do is when you have
Alcohol consumption is not really good, but are there any ways to make it less of a pain?
There are a lot of good ways to reduce the hangover effect. Basically, you can have
Which foods should we avoid
ultra
longer?
processed foods. For the longest time, I was such a very allopathic person. After a point of time, I realized that I don't have a quick fix. People say 7 दिन में 30 दिन में करो. I think that's all bullshit.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the third episode of Gaining Perspective, brought to you by Cooper. I am your host Shreyansh Patni, and today I am wearing the AI foam trucker cap by Cooper, and this is currently hottest selling cap right now, and you can get yours before they are sold out. In today's generation and today's day and age, you must be aware that the amount of junk food, sugars and oil that we are eating are slowly deteriorating our health, and it is reducing our life expectancy by a lot. People who are young are diagnosed with illness like diabetes, cholesterol and a lot other diseases, which is not really good for us. So to tackle these problems, today we have with us Mr. Anant Agarwal. He is a biomedical scientist and a biohack consultant. He has been in this industry since 14 years. So he has his own clinical research and he has been doing it since 14 years. And he is going to tell us how to increase our life expectancy today and opt for a better lifestyle and suggest a lot of other things related to that topic. So over to you, Mr. Anant. First, I'd like to know a little more about you. Like, how did you get into the field of biohacking, biomedical? What exactly is biomedical? Because I am not actually aware of topics like biomedical, biohacking. I'm really new to this topic. I'm sure a lot of people my age and a lot of people are actually new to this topic.
Shreyansh, thank you for having me in your podcast. I feel very privileged because I would be your first few guests in the podcast.
Correct.
Once you grow big, you can promote me. But to just begin with, I think, so when I graduated from Sheffield in biomedical sciences and engineering. And when
Sheffield is in?
UK.
Okay.
So when I came back to India, I was really lost because I had a broken knee. I had no job because, I couldn't work for a year. I was in rehab and I was looking for a job. And I actually started with a very single clinical research project where I got an internship for 100 rupees a day. And
when was this?
This was in 2011. This was in 2011. And after that, I just got offered a very stupid freelance job from a company, Cipla. I think a lot of people know about it. And from there, it just snowballed into a 100% company. And, today we have 100 people. We work across the country and we are working with large US pharma, a lot of big, European pharma, medical device companies, biotech companies into so many different fields in biotech. And we've been working mostly with, terminal diseases, cancers. We do a lot of clinical research on cancers. I think for the longest time, I was such a very allopathic person. After a point of time, I realized that, pharmaceuticals are a symptomatic cure. They're not really something that goes into your roots. We've divided medicine into 5,000 different fields. Imagine, can you go to a gastroenterologist doctor and say you have gut issues and he giving you a medicine for anxiety? Right? They will never do that. And that's because we've divided medicine into 5,000 different parts or 10,000 different parts, however you want to call it. Because the root problems come from your gut-brain sex organs. And people have forgotten how to treat the roots. So It was my personal research and my personal endeavor to, research a lot into longevity and research a lot into, anti-aging. Because, we have this cap of retiring at 60 years old.
Correct.
And, if you retire at 60, right, your lifespan is supposed to be 120 human years. If you see the telomeres...
Generally, we hover around 80.
So that's a life expectancy currently. In India, it's 69. In Singapore, it's 85. So if you see the telomere length of babies, 1-year-old babies, you will see that the telomere length is... So basically, there are these caps in your chromosomes. Like there's an X chromosome and a Y chromosome. And they have these caps everywhere. Like literally like your cap, the one you're wearing. It's like there are caps all across right? And those caps are telomeres. And those telomeres have a certain length.
Okay.
Right? And most scientists across the world agree that human beings can live up to 120 years or even more.
Okay.
Right? But our mindset is we'll retire at 60.
Half of a year.
So the first thing when we talk about health, right, is mindset. If you cannot thrive, you will not survive. So your mindset needs to be of non-retirement, of a functionality, of a purpose. When you retire someone, their brain gives up. They lose a sense of purpose. If you see any blue zone study throughout the world, so just for the
Blue zone study?
So just for the listeners, blue zones are basically places on Earth where there are the highest number of centenarians or people living above 100.
Okay.
So there is one in Japan, in Okinawa, there's one in Greece, and there are a few more across the world. And those are the places that have the highest number of people who are living above 100. And when they did research throughout the blue zones, the first thing that came up as an aspect of longevity was purpose.
Oh, is it?
So
this was the common characteristic.
This was a common characteristic among all blue zones in the world, that purpose, the intentionality of living, is very important. There was this guy who had lung cancer, stage 4, 38 years old, went to Italy, back to his, roots. He's now 106. So the whole point was because, when we retire, when you're not needed, you absolutely give up on life.
Okay.
That is because there's no purpose of living, and you convince your brain. You convince your brain that there is no purpose of living, and then I've retired and I'm about to die.
Yeah, actually, you are signaling to your brain that these are my last few years.
These are my last few years, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
I'm saying, retire financially.
Correct.
Retire financially, become secure, because having a peace of mind is important as we age, right? But have that mindset that what value you will add. Look at all Olympic athletes since the Olympics are going on. Look at all Olympic athletes. 90% of them, when they complete their careers in sports, they become depressed. Michael Phelps had won 16 golds. He has no dearth of money. He had one of the largest depressions known in sports.
Is it?
Yeah, most sportsmen go through depression. That's because their purpose becomes to win that sport.
And when they've done it,
they don't know what else to do in life. I'm saying your purpose has to be higher. You need to have a high purpose. Like for me, as an entrepreneur and a healthcare provider, I feel like I want to wake up in the morning and I want to change someone's life. And I want to do that till I die.
that is interesting.
I want to do that till I die. It's not... So whenever I think about my business, I think it's a chapter in my life. I feel that maybe when I'm 50, I want to do something else. This is my second venture. As a podcaster myself and as a content creator, this is my second venture. And I don't know, maybe after 50, I'd like to do something else. Maybe at 55, I'd like to, design life for Mars. God knows. But my intentionality is very same. My intentionality is that I want to live a life where I can wake up in the morning and change someone else's life by the value add that I give. Because I think of myself as a healer who loves to read, who loves to discover human bodies, who finds fascinations in the things that human beings do. And I love studying their behavior, their fooding habits, the diseases, and how to backward integrate them to give the highest amount of value that you can give. So for me, that's the intentionality.
Actually, this is a major mind shift to me right now, because I did not plan on retiring, but I thought I'll earn some money, a huge amount of money, and then I won't work. I'll just go enjoy holiday and do some lavish things. But now I'm realizing that having a sense of purpose is really important. I want to ask questions to people like Amitabh Bachchan, Ratan Tata, and so many other successful people who are still working over the age of 80. And I wanted to know, why are they working when they have so much amount of money? What is it that they want? How much more money can they earn?
They want to wake up and entertain.
Still, like Amitabh Bachchan has millions and millions of rupee he doesn't need to earn. And I guess now I'm able to identify with what you're saying, that he has a sense of purpose. If he does not have that purpose, he would have enjoyed his life as much as he's doing it right now.
Absolutely. If you're not working, if you're sitting at home, what do? He enjoys work now, Amitabh Bachchan. He probably wakes up in the morning and he feels needed. Feeling needed is one of the biggest markers for success and was one of the biggest markers for longevity. If you're not needed, then what do? Your body will give up. If tomorrow morning I tell you, here's 100 crores, Shreyansh, and live your life, you'll probably put something in FD, but you might travel for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. Then what?
Correct.
I mean, people like Ratan Tata want to add value because right now it's not the money that they're building, it's the value that they're building. I mean, these people have transcended money. So again, like I said, I'm not saying that don't financially retire. Financially come to a point as early as you can, which gives you a peace of mind. But follow your purpose and passion till the day you die. I mean, building your why is the most important thing. If you follow
Finding
Simon
a
Sinek,
purpose.
if you follow Simon Sinek in any form,
Yeah, I
or the
do.
audiences who follow Simon Sinek, I mean, building your why is the most important thing you can do in your life. If you can define your why, then the how and what will come automatically.
That is the most difficult thing, finding your why, finding your passion, right?
I think it's not difficult at all if people self reflect. And it's not difficult at all once they actually sit down and write. And I mean, they can always have mentors, they can always go to YouTube and search. Because building your why is one of the easiest things I feel. I mean, what you wake up to do, because there are very few things in the world you can do. If you look at any species, whether you look at ant species, whether you look at animal species, lion kingdom, so whatever, I mean, you will find that every species have certain roles for different people. Human beings are blessed that they can have a high number of roles and functions. You could be a warrior, you could be an athlete, you could be someone help entertainment, you could be a healer, you could be an entrepreneur. I mean, one of those things you have to add. If you're an entrepreneur, then your why should be to add value to the ecosystem of the world.
Correct.
If you are a healthcare provider, in some way, because there are 10,000 different kinds of healthcare, your job should be to make someone's life better. If you are a warrior, your job is to protect the country. If you are, say someone in, all these professions that they add
Student,
in,
if you're a student, your purpose is to study.
your purpose is to study, or your purpose is to be academic, and your purpose is to add value to the world in some way, because we are one large ecosystem.
Correct.
So finding a why is not that difficult. It's like because the moment you find your why, your how and what will come out beautifully, and it should not be limited to one chapter of your life, because life will change.
Actually, I've seen so many people changing their course, course as in people dropping out what they were doing, and they do radically different things afterwards.
Absolutely.
It's like starting a new life 2.0 after discovery.
90% of students in IIM are engineers.
Yeah, actually 90%. Yeah. Not even about IIMs. I've seen so many like college people who are going to college, they drop out and suddenly they want to be a sports person. They are like Rahul Dravid, he was a CA, I guess, studying CA. Everyone who aspires to be a CA wants to start his own firm, do auditing, doesn't think of becoming a cricketer. Not Rahul Dravid is an engineer, I guess. I can't remember actually.
I'm not sure.
But then I remember that he is very well educated and he pivoted from that being a cricketer. So if finding a purpose is, I guess, is not dependent like you have to find it at a young age.
No, there is no age to it. You could find, your why could change. People, how people keep saying that your goalpost can change. Your
Yes.
why can change. No problem. There are people who want to be rich and want to be an entrepreneur till a large part of their lives. And suddenly they want to become spiritual because they've earned it all and add to the spiritual ecosystem of the world. It's okay to change your why, but knowing your why and following it till the next chapter of your life is important. I'm not saying that what you decide today you have to follow. You could always decide to change. There are, different ecosystems working in the world together which can make you change your why. Today, your why could be to be the best entrepreneur in the country, be the best hat manufacturer in the country, give the best designs of hat so that people can, when they go out, they can enjoy wearing the cap in their head and have quirky designs and see the happy faces and add something colorful and artistic to the ecosystem, right? That why would be adding color to people's life. Right? But maybe 20 years down the line, you decide to go to real estate, for all you know. So, it could be to build homes then. I'm not saying that the why can't change. I'm saying that why comes with intentionality. If you intentionally sit down and write, why am I doing this? I think that's the step number one to start your journey in any field.
Actually, about me, from the longest time, childhood, I wanted to be a cricketer, like most of the kids in India. And joined a club, did a lot of practicing. Then I realized I'm not really very good at cricketing because I was being bowled out easily. Was really a very good bowler, but I could bowl decently. And then I kept doing it, getting to nowhere. And then after a point of time, I realized that this is not my why, this is not my passion, I cannot continue it because I'm not really good at it, I'm not talented. Might have been that if I would have practiced even more, could have find my rhythm and could have become a cricketer, but I think that chances of that becoming is very low. Then I realized after studying, I was becoming good at studies, and after my college I opened a cafe. That part of my life I enjoyed a lot, being an entrepreneur and looking for things, creating value out of nowhere, creating new kind of dishes. Even though I'm not a chef, but I was enjoying being an entrepreneur because that is a part of entrepreneur. And it did not do well, but then I again went back to doing MBA, and again after doing MBA I started a job. I worked in a job, but actually I did not enjoy that at all. And again I'm back to being a entrepreneur, doing Cooper, and because of Cooper I started this podcast. And I think this is how you discover your why. For me it was like being an entrepreneur, it was a hint before also, and now it is a hint today also.
But that's amazing. I mean, the fact that you got to experience so many things will help you build up. You never know, you might find something else, or you might find something in content or something in caps, or maybe some third other thing. I'm saying that it is okay to not know your why as long as you know that you're trying to discover it.
Correct.
The journey is sometimes more important than knowing. But at some day you will find it. At some day you'll find a footing. At some day you'll find that stability, and that's the most important thing.
Do you know, how do you know when you have found your why?
I think it's different for different people. It's
how did you find yours? Like, you told me that you...
So honestly, like I'll tell you a very stupid story. Like when I was in class 8, and I admit, like, I was going to biology class, and there was this, I even remember the name of the teacher. Her name is Mrs. Anjali Chopra. And she was talking about genetics. She was talking about genes. And for some stupid reason, I always thought, when my parents used to say ki genes mein hai, I used to literally think genes mein, and I used to think, what a stupid phrase. Genes kya hota hai?
Yeah, correct.
But that day in class 8, she told me about genes, like my mind just got blown. And just got blown. I started studying for medicine in class 8. And I was so fascinated. I remember...
You started studying medicine, like, by yourself?
No, pre-med. Like for coaching centers jaise hota hai.
Okay.
So like for pre-med, I started studying like all the subjects that you need to study to clear your NEET examinations.
That early?
Yeah, class 8. And at that time, nowadays, so people still start from class 8. I'm saying at that time, I was like in probably 2002, 3, 4, like studying for pre-med was a big thing. Like no one used to do it. People used to study in class 11, 12. So I started in class 8 because I was so fascinated by the human body. I said, oh my God, there's something called genes, and like an entire, function of the body is decoded into it.
Basically, you got curious about...
I got curious about it there, and then there was nothing else in my life. It was just, like even today, like no matter how depressed I am, how sad I am, how worried I am, if I'm overthinking, in my worst and bad times, reading and studying medicine on different fields, researching is something that comes automatically to me. Like, how people play games when they're bored? Yeah. I look at new research papers. Like, I'm reading about different things happening in the world. I'm reading about psychology perspectives. I'm reading about, one of my biggest pet peeves are, thought experiments.
What are that?
So thought experiments are something like, trying to, basically it's like usually psychologists give thought experiments to people to make you understand certain things. Like, for example, there's a trolley problem. Have you heard of it?
No.
So it's a thought experiment where there are 2 railway tracks.
Okay.
Right? On one railway track, there are 5 people who are stuck to the railway track. And on the other track, there is 1 person who's stuck to the railway track. And the rail line is coming. Alright? Now you have the opportunity to switch the track. Which track would you choose?
Depends.
No, see, now that's the thing. That's the thought experiment. So that's just the first part of it. Like, which track would you choose? You would say, obviously, 1 person is dying. Is better than 5 people dying.
I'll choose depend. I'll choose if the other 5 people are really old, and the one...
No, see, that comes in the second and third part.
Okay.
Like, the first is a very basic. It's called deontology. So it's basically 90% of the people chose 1.
1, yeah.
Because 1 person dying is better than 5 people dying. Why? 5 people also have families.
Definitely.
5 people also have families. They also have mouths to feed. Right? Then the question gets more and more complicated, It is basically, the thought experiment is dedicated to how complicated decision making is.
Okay.
One right decision that you make might be a very bad decision for your partner, might be a very bad decision for your family, might be the very right decision for your business partner. So, thought experiments, I love playing around with them because I love making thought experiments to make people understand why and how they came to that decision. It helps me understand
The psychology of
the
the other
psychology
person.
and behavioral aspect of that patient. So, for me, thought experiments are something that I really play around with because I really want to understand how they came to that conclusion or what was their thought process. Because I might, on the face, think that's very wrong, but that might quickly change into something very different because then you think, oh, so that makes sense.
That is really really interesting because I've done MBA, so I've read that most of the CEOs in any company of the world, they're the best decision makers. They take decisions, be it right, be it wrong, at the smallest amount of time, and they back their decisions. Most of the time, they somehow make the right decisions majorly. But
I think I have a very different perspective on that. Sorry. I think decision making for business entrepreneurs
yeah,
have to be
backed by
minimally
data.
invasive. No, minimally invasive in the sense that, I mean, if you've seen interviews from Mark Zuckerberg or other people, usually every day CEOs, business leaders need to make 3 to 7 decisions a day, right? About different aspects in business, what printer to buy, who to hire, what mal will go, what mal will come, things like that.
Correct.
I think you have to make your life into the minimum number of decisions required per day. So, for example, Mark Zuckerberg wears the same shirt.
Same shit. Yeah, just to minimize the number of decisions.
He doesn't want to make a decision. Sundar Pichai has omelette every day. He doesn't want to think about what he wants to order.
Okay.
He has an omelette a day. That's nobody has to tell him something. Nobody has to ask him something. It's just your omelette.
Because you can make only a certain amount of right decisions in a day.
No, even that's not true. I think the second layer of this is all the entrepreneurs and business leaders, I feel, are quick decision makers. They go with their gut. Now, the philosophy
Intuition,
is that it's basically you can either make the right decision or make the wrong decision and correct it at the right point. Okay. It's basically tracking your decision. They track the decision. I made this decision. Is it working? Is it working? Is it working? There's a high level of paranoia. Oh, no, this was right, thank God. Oh, no, this is not going right. Let's quickly damage control and change the direction.
Correct.
It's like, even in the Bhagavad Gita, like I'm a big fan of the Bhagavad Gita. And if you read, it's like you have to take the first step forward. Because there is this story of the fox and the tail and the mole and the something, I forgot the whole name. And basically, the small kid, which is on the horse, he asked them that, I can't see anything. Like this fog all over the place. Like, I don't know where to go. And the horse says, can you see the first step?
Correct. Yeah, I know the story. Yeah.
And that's what entrepreneurship is like. Can you see tomorrow? Or can you see day after? And that's how they make quick decisions. It's not the right decisions, it's the quick decisions. And putting them and making them right after a certain point of time.
That is what I've done with my brand too.
Yeah.
There have been so many places that I did not know what to do. I had really no idea, like getting my caps, where should I get it? How should I, like what designs to choose? I had no idea. I thought I just need to make it the fastest. I just need to make the fast decision and back it. Otherwise, I'm going to keep delaying. As it is, I delayed it by 2 years. I've kept waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect design, At a point, I realized that there's nothing perfect. I need to make a decision and I need to back the decision. Otherwise, I'm going to be stuck waiting for perfect.
Absolutely. There's a line in Marvel, no, where Tony Stark says that sometimes you got to run before you start walking. Sometimes you have to just jump in and like.
Thank God I did. Otherwise, I would have been dreaming brand launch ho jata, to ye ho jata.
No, fair enough.
So I would like to know what is biohacking or biomedical, like.
So just to put in a layman's language, biohacking became popular as do-it-yourself biology. Right?
Okay.
But I have a different concept altogether. I have a more Indianized version of biohacking. Now, Need for Speed खेला है कभी बचपन में?
हाँ.
Need for Speed video games. Cheat codes use होता था ना?
हाँ.
Cheat code use करते थे कंप्यूटर में to reach to higher levels. Right?
GTA में तो बहुत ज़्यादा.
GTA में भी बहुत ज़्यादा. There was Call of Duty and Halo. Halo, that was a game in Xbox. And people use cheat codes to go on the high levels or kill someone or get some weapon or something. Biohacking is exactly that.
Okay.
It's basically you are trying to go from a life expectancy of 69 years to a potential 120 or above. But how do you get there? हम लोग तो 120 level पे पहुंचे ही नहीं है. There are maybe 6 people on earth who have got to that level.
Only?
Or 10, no, 6, 10, 15, 20. I don't know. I mean, ऐसे तो numbers बोलना मुश्किल है because record keeping wasn't that great.
Difficult, yeah.
But I'm just saying that there are very few recorded people who are above 120. There was James Carment of France. And abhi currently the longest living human being on earth is from India in Banaras called Sivananda. He's 126 years old. He's the longest living person on earth right now. So I'm saying that वो level पे पहुंचे कैसे level 126 पे? आप तो 70 पे सलट जा रहे हो.
हाँ.
You know, biohacking is to go from 70 to 120.
How?
So see, that's the thing. With biohacking, there are many things. Like, you know, the way I do it, this is my personal opinion, and I think this is very unique to my knowledge. But I have studied terminal diseases all my life. We've done cancer research all my life. We've done terminal disease all my life. We've done studies on ICU patients who are about to die. Like we've studied drugs on ICU patients to bring them back to life. You know, things like that. So because we've done things like that, like, you know, for me, biohacking is backward integrating your medical history. Like say for example, if you come to me and tell me कि मेरे family में heart diseases है बहुत. मतलब मेरे 10 जन heart disease से मरे हैं. Or whatever, mental health se mare. I will backward integrate that as priority number 1. If you have a family history of mental illnesses like Parkinson's, schizophrenia, or any other disease, I'll try to biohack your brain health. See, we will all die at some point. The idea is not to reverse something, because which is a very propaganda word used by health influencers. In medicine, we call them remission. The idea is to delay aging.
Correct.
When can I delay your mental illness? When can I delay your diabetes? How can I delay your blood pressure? How can I delay your muscle loss in the body? Because aging medically is defined as muscle loss. After a certain age, you start losing testosterone by 1% and you start losing muscle. When you build muscle, you are trying to reverse or slow down aging.
Okay.
Right? So biohacking is the way to slow down aging. Now it has all normal concepts. It has breath work, it has spirituality, it has mental health, it has nutritional health, it has physical health, it has mindfulness, it has so many other things, right? Now how to design a biohacking module for a patient depends on a patient to patient basis.
Okay, I thought it will be something like you'll prescribe some medicine, or we will have to do some test and then give some
Those are the tools for it. I mean, like if you say, for example, if you come to me, I mean, I would definitely love to do a diagnostics on you. But again, diagnostics are a tool. I just want to know your current status internally. So I will use diagnostic tests as a tool to measure what is currently going on with you. I will take your medical history in detail to understand that, to understand what you might be suffering through or what you could potentially suffer to. I will try to do all those supplemental charts or medicines in that sense, where I can find out if something is helping you, because sometimes there are 4 problems, right? You can't solve the 4th problem without holding the 3rd as a crutch. Say for example, you have a lower back pain and you're obese. Okay. Can I tell you to go work out every day?
That'll be difficult.
So I need to hold on to something, and I know that the lower back or the back pain is holding you from doing the exercise.
Workout, yeah.
Right. So I need to give you some supplement, or I need to give you some form of relaxation to your back, or stretching or rehab for you to start working out. So that's very important. Like, you need to understand biohacking works in a clinical trial sense. There is no right way. We've been doing clinical research for 14 years. There is not a single drug in the world. There's not a single supplement in the world. There's not a single therapy in the world which works for everyone.
Obviously, everyone has their own need and requirements.
We help you in getting you there faster. Because, say for example, I would say magnesium works on 60% of people. If it doesn't work on you, you're 40%. I've narrowed down your range. Once you're in 40%, then I will try something else. Then I'll narrow it further. I will make you your own health coach. You need to understand that you do not ever need me again. I need you to understand yourself so much. I keep telling patients that, with me, you're doing an educational course. I'm giving you a crash course on healthcare to make you your own health coach.
So what happens when I go to you as a patient? What is the whole process?
So for me, I feel that taking someone's medical history, understanding someone's why, even if they don't understand it, helping them get to their why, helping them understand their problems is extremely important. I mean, that's the first thing I do. I really spend 2 to 3 hours with someone in understanding what they want from life. What are they looking for? Like, why have you come to me for?
Okay,
Right?
so you also do the psychological experience.
I mean, I personally am not a psychologist, so I don't do that. It is more of from a coaching perspective. But as a team, we have a lot of psychologists and we have a lot of spiritual experts who we refer to if we feel the need to. So if we feel that, they could really do with a counseling session, we tell them that, I feel that you should do a few counseling sessions with someone to, have a better self-reflection and better understanding of yourself. Right? Because most people don't know their why. They come with the perspective, I want to lose 10 kgs for my sister's wedding. Like,
and even if they do, they still get fat again after a point of time.
yeah. So I'm saying that when people come to me, I'm very clear about expectations. And I say, listen, I'm trying to help you create sustainable habits. Because no restrictive diet in the world works. I mean, you could do keto diets, vegan diets. You always go back to your relationship with food. You always go back to your awareness with food. If you see that interview with Roger Federer, he said, I didn't have chocolate for 12 years. And after that last game where he won some open and he went and had 2 pieces of chocolate because he wanted to reward himself. What that means? That his reward center is sugar.
Okay.
That maybe one day he leaves sports.
He'll be back.
He might become fat. He might just want to have sweets all the time because he feels that he needs to reward himself and that he doesn't need to do that anymore. I'm saying changing your relationship with food is important. Building habits are important. For me, I think one of the places I struggle is I don't have a quick fix.
Correct. Because quick fix don't work for a long term.
Yeah, people say 7 din mein ye karo, 30 din mein karo. I think that's all bullshit.
It is actually. It is
absolute bullshit. I'm saying that you change your relationship with food. Have real food. Have less preservatives. Have organic as much as you can. Have food that is real, cooked in your home or even outside. If it is cooked food, it is better. I mean, I say that have noodles.
Cooked food, as in...
No, in the sense that I would say have noodles made in a dhaba also, rather than having Maggi which is stored for 6 months.
Okay.
See, understand the concept of preservatives. Preservative इसकी उसमें bacteria नहीं लग जाए. Food digest कैसे होता है human body में?
By enzymes.
By bacteria.
हाँ, correct.
Bacteria तो खाता है.
हाँ.
Gut microbiome. I'm saying कि अगर वो food को gut microbiome खा ही नहीं सकता, तो आपके लिए harm होगा ना. मैं बोलूँ noodles खा लीजिए मैदा.
Okay, so you are saying, जैसे I have read कि मैदा is just जो भी आटा होता है उससे जितना nutrients निकाल लिया, that is called मैदा, right?
No, that's all rubbish, to be honest. मैदा is just basically refined flour. उससे उसका फाइबर ऊपर का जो है वो निकल जाता है. And honestly, there's कोई 19-20 का फर्क है, to be very frank with you.
आटा and मैदा का.
हाँ, मतलब 19-20 का फर्क है. I mean, of course there is a फर्क.
So मैदा, I've seen so many people saying कि मैदा खाने से पेट में चिपक जाता है, digest नहीं होता. Because I've heard it so many.
People with gluten intolerance के साथ हो सकता है. But people who are okay with gluten, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. Ultimately, everything boils down to your relationship with food.
Okay.
I'm saying, let me do a thought experiment with you. If you take 600 kg guys, and if you give them the same amount of calories every day, do you think the 6 people will gain the same amount of weight or lose the same amount of weight?
Depends on their metabolism.
So, वहीं पे एक difference हो गया.
Correct.
Right? So, I'm saying the first thing that I tell my patients is calorie is the biggest lie.
Is it? Okay.
So please understand, कैलोरी हम लोग कैलकुलेट कैसे करते हैं. एक बॉम्ब कैलोरी मीटर है.
हाँ.
उस बॉम्ब कैलोरी मीटर में यू पुट अप से अ बर्गर.
Okay.
एंड यू लाइट इट नीचे से, राइट? उससे हीट जनरेट होगा.
हाँ.
बर्गर से आप उसको जला रहे हो, वो जो हीट जनरेट होगा. सो अ किलो कैलोरी इज डिफाइंड एज द अमाउंट ऑफ एनर्जी और हीट रिक्वायर्ड to raise the temperature of 1 kg of water by 1 degree Celsius in 1 atmospheric pressure.
Only by 1 degrees?
Only by 1 degree is 1 kilocalorie. By 1 degree Celsius for 1 kg of water.
Okay.
For 1 kg of water for 1 degree Celsius and 1 atmospheric pressure, just where we are breathing. Okay. Right? Now, are you a bomb calorie meter? I'm saying when you have your food, your body will react very differently to way another child of your same weight will react, a athlete will react, or someone else will react. your testosterone levels at that point, your metabolism at that point, your thyroid levels at that point, because metabolism is also dynamic. हम लोग कोई BC मशीन में मेजर कर लेते हैं 1800, इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि 1800 है. आप कौन से टाइम पे कितना स्ट्रेस्ड हो, कितना सोए हो, कितना खाए हो, कितना पियो, it will take a quantum computer maybe 100,000 billion years to calculate your relationship of a trillion cells of your body with your food you're eating in terms of calorie.
Goodness.
So I feel that calorie deficit is important. The law of thermodynamics is important. But I say that create calorie deficit by movement. Create calorie deficit by exercise. Food के संग अपना relationship change करो. Have real food. We'll get there later. Once you start having real food, then उसमें क्या कम करना है, basic करना है, we'll get that later. Because you need to build that habit till that time. You need to make right choices. When you go to a restaurant, what choices do you make? When you go to a vacation, what choices do you make? So you will be a product of your choices, and your relationship with food will determine your choices. I need you to make better choices, and I will help you get there faster if you spend time with me. That's my intention. So again, I keep telling my patients that, I'm not a quick fix. If you're looking to lose 5 kgs in 1 month, that will not happen.
It'll never happen.
I will give you an educational crash course on health, nutrition, medicine, science, because there's so many people, again, like nutritionists and doctors are divided, right? They might know कि कौन सा drug के संग interact कर रहा है. They might know कि कौन सा food कौन सा drug के संग interact कर रहा है. When you're on steroids, so many patients are on steroids for different diseases like arthritis or blah, blah, blah. Like when you're on steroids, you shouldn't be having salt.
Okay.
People are having normal foods. Because वो water retention body से inflammate करेगा water retention. I'm just saying that small things may be help in terms of what is the best way to lose weight. But even if they lose it, then that's not a win for us. Our win is not losing 10 kgs for them. Our win is 10 years down the line where no one will thank you. Once we made you a better choice or decision maker.
Okay, so you try and change the habit of people and you have put it in their soul actually.
Yeah, like it's something that I'm saying that जब वो like husband wife में झगड़ा होता है ना, बोलते हैं कि I want you to think like that. I don't want to say it and then you do it. I want कि तुम अगर ऐसा सोचते तो better होता. It's the same thing.
Okay.
I want you to think like that. I don't want me to tell you something and then
automatically I should be thinking अरे ये खाना है कि नहीं खाना है. I should be aware myself.
I'm saying it should be your choice, and I will say this. That will take years. I was 155 kgs. I know how long it has taken me.
155?
55. I know how long it has taken me because I've gone through multiple roller coaster rides. Like, I've been extremely lean after that. I've gone from 155 to 80, full boxing and all that. I've gone back again to my weight, again low, again high, again low.
180 to 155 again?
No, not 155. Like again, baseline कम होते गया. मतलब वो ऐसे से ऐसे हुआ, फिर थोड़ा बढ़ा, फिर थोड़ा कम हुआ, फिर. And even now I feel like I need to lose a little bit of weight.
But why did that happen?
Because you always go back to your brain's reward center. You feel कि after I've achieved 10 kgs, अब तो मैं आइसक्रीम पेल दूंगा. अब तो मैं जो भी खाना मिलेगा, जहाँ भी खाना मिलेगा, I will have, no world cannot stop me anymore.
Correct.
Like आज तो खाना ही है. I'm saying that relationship with food needs to change.
How does that? Because I used to be very, very thin. Matlab, not very thin. I used to be around 65 kgs just before marriage. And after that, I've gained posthumously. I'm like 10 kgs heavier now. And there's no way I'm losing weight. I'm working out regularly. I'm not eating a lot of food. Eating normal amount of food. And still I'm not losing weight. And I've been working out since 10 years. I've been regular to gym. I know all the cheat codes and everything. Eating less carbs, not eating at night. But still, there's something wrong, which is...
Maybe you're not moving enough.
Perhaps.
I'm just saying, like what happens is that, see, I don't want to make it into I don't want to use like cuss words. But the thing is that your metabolism or your body loves homeostasis. Please understand the concept.
That is meaning staying in one position.
Staying at one position. If your body is okay with this weight, they don't like changing.
Okay.
You need to give your body a purpose. You know why celebrities find it easier to lose weight and get into that? I'm not saying that they have all the resources possible. From steroids to medicines to supplements to health coaches to food. But they have an intentionality कि वैसा होगा नहीं तो होगा ही नहीं. your brain and your body is convinced कि आपको चाहिए ही नहीं.
Correct, actually.
आप अपने फैंटेसी में सोचते हो कि हाँ यार वेट कम नहीं हो रहा है. You're not determined enough.
Actually, I'm not worried अब कि ठीक है भर रहा है तो doesn't matter
मतलब your
much.
body is convinced कि भाई काम तो चल रहा है यार, खुश है ये, खा रहा है, पी रहा है, खेल रहा है.
पहले I was motivated, no, I have to burn, I have to burn, I have to burn. Automatically, somehow it was burning.
See, my concept of fitness is strength. There's so many people who come to me and say कि बहुत फटीक लग रहा है यार, दोपहर खाने के बाद ऐसा लगता है सो जाए.
Exactly.
एकदम नींद आता है. Like कि विटामिन B-C लेने क्या, विटामिन B and D-C लेने क्या, D विटामिन B ले ले क्या. 90% of the times everyone is deficit. Even the people who feel strong or not strong doesn't matter. Everyone is okay with vitamin B and D. Even if they're deficit, they can take vitamin B anyway. Vitamin B and D as a lifestyle, you can take it. The reason that they're feeling fatigued is because their muscle is rotting away. The muscle is losing strength. You don't have strength. If you see the global clinical parameters of strength, it is basically hanging in a bar for 2 minutes. It is doing a certain number of squats. It is doing a certain number of military press. Your muscles are weak. If your muscle is weak, your insulin response is weak. If your insulin response and muscles are weak, of course you'll feel fatigued. It means you're not strong enough. Okay. I judge fitness by strength. There are people who are heavy, but they're strong, fucking strong. And they don't have any problems like that. They might not look the right way because aesthetics is a made-up phenomena by Western media. Like, we look at these magazines and chiseled physiques and think कि इसका तो subcutaneous fat नहीं. People who have the kind of physiques that say Hrithik Roshan or all these people do, and I respect them a lot. I think it is their art and it is basically, something that they need for their life, and I feel that's very important. But on a larger picture, for the normal lay person, Hrithik Roshan came out and said it himself. I look like that for 2 weeks in a year.
Yeah.
After that, I'm just a normal human being. So I'm saying that as a perspective of that normal human being, you need to decide what you feel great at.
Which kind
and
of
how
weight.
Determined are you to get there? Because, it is about prioritizing also. I would say you are prioritizing your business over your health. If you had to make a business decision, someone ordered 1,000 caps and you have to stay all night for 7 days and, let go of your sleep, food, eat, whatever, water, you would rather give that up than give that 1,000 का cap. You will not say कि हम नहीं करेंगे साथ. हमको 1 महीना लगेगा. Client को तो चाहिए 7 दिन में. It is about prioritizing, and that's what happens to most entrepreneurs. What happens to most healthcare people. Like, if you see across the spectrum, health is not a priority. There is a saying that you have 999 problems, but when you have a health problem, you just have one problem. So
deep.
It's that. So I'm just saying कि you need to understand what you're prioritizing. I personally, when you just said these things to me, my first thought is कि health is not your priority. I refuse to believe that you're working out and eating healthy and not losing weight if that was a priority.
I am working on, I'm lifting weights, but the intensity with which I used to lift maybe a year earlier, it's actually 30% of it.
No, so I'm just giving you a very silly example.
No, actually,
it's about intentionality. Like today, if you decide कि हाँ business उस side में चल रहा है, peace of mind है, now let's work. Now, if you see all top entrepreneurs who have now started building their bodies, all influencers जिनके पास इतना पैसा आ गया, अब लगता है अब अपने body पे काम करते हैं. अब अपने body पे काम करते हैं because अब तो पैसा secure है. अब तो मतलब now they come to me. I don't have to go to anyone else. Like if you were getting say 10 lakh caps का order every month or whatever, however the larger number is, you would be like, हाँ वो तो अब side में चल रहा है. Now my only concern is health.
Correct.
I want to be the best looking guy, the best looking entrepreneur. I want to build my personal brand. And doing this content is a great way. Because if say your season takes off, if you get a lot of viewership and then you'll be like, a lot of people are seeing me. Now this is a part of my work.
Now I have to be fit. How is it that some people, like I have a friend who is slim, perhaps around 58 kgs, and he eats a lot, never loses an ounce of weight, never gains an ounce of weight. Is it because of just metabolism or is it
There are many factors involved personally, but I just want to, this is a very interesting study. Do you watch Huberman? Andrew Huberman.
Yeah, I haven't. I've just seen 1 or 2 episodes of it.
Okay, so basically there was a study that he discussed about these 2 scientists in England in the 1960s or 70s, where they did the same study. How can some people have anything in the world and not put on weight, and some people can just smell a pizza and gain 1 kilo, So they wanted to do the research, and they saw that people who are slim even after eating everything are usually fidgeties. They call them fidgeters. very anxious, like tapping, tipping, like shaking,
Doing something or the other.
doing something or the other, like this, tapping their hands, tapping their feet, moving their heads, like restless, walking around. Like it's because of the thermogenic effect. It's because their nerves are tingling all the time. It's because they're burning energy much faster. It's because they move. I mean, it is a very wrong way of saying moving, but like they're moving a lot.
Okay.
They're very fidgety, anxious. They're very restless people.
I'm trying to relate if he moves a lot or not. I guess he does.
It's just they're fidgety. Like they don't even realize it. Like people won't even realize it. Like you ask them to sit for 5 minutes, they'll just get up.
He doesn't sit. He doesn't sit in a place for a long time. He'll just get up. He just move ahead.
Yeah,
Just
he'll just keep
doing
moving,
something,
do
yeah.
something. But they're very restless people inside.
Because of the you said
They create
thermogen.
the thermogenic effect. They're like shivering. Like, ice bath therapy has become so famous. It's because of shivering. They want you to shiver to activate the brown fat cells in your body. To
What
burn
is
that fat.
brown fat cells?
So there are different kinds of fat. There's brown fat, white fat. I don't want to get too technical, but it's basically your white fat is the one in your subcutaneous layer and the brown fat is inside. And if you have brown fat cell activation, it helps in losing weight. I mean, there's a whole theory about it. But that's the main intention of ice bath, is to basically make you shiver.
Yeah.
Right? Your intention is when you're exercising, you're technically shivering. If you pick up a lot of weight, your body will start shivering.
Yeah.
Right? The entire intention of working out is shivering in some sense or the other. It's the same thing with fidgeters. They're shivering the whole day. They're moving around, like the hands, legs, everything will move around.
That's a cool thing to know.
So again, this is a research. I can't corroborate it because I don't know if they're peer reviewed or anything. But I do feel there are, of course, metabolism is an aspect, their digestive capabilities are an aspect, that gut microbiome is an aspect, because nowadays gut microbiome research has become so big that, it's been very clear that people who are obese have a different microbiome than people who are.
Actually, I've seen a lot of gut-related medicines, food, or supplements popping up. So, should we take them, or
I think take
what
whichever
is?
works for you.
But what is basically gut? And
So basically, the gut, if you put it colloquially, is basically that whole system from your food pipe to your stomach, then to your small intestine, then to your large intestine, and then your colon. That entire region from where you intake food and where it goes out, it's the gut system. It's your intestine, and that's where all your bacteria are.
so, how do we keep it healthy?
So now that's a very complicated question, to be honest. Again, like your gut microbiome, if I had to just give very generic advice, it's about prebiotics and probiotics. Prebiotics are basically the foods that the microorganisms need, like, say, for example, fiber. They're the prebiotics because there's the food the bacteria need. And then there's the probiotics, there's the dahi, and then there are fermented foods, there's kombucha and pickles. And these are fermented foods that we've been using for generations and millennia. हम लोग जो चार बनाते हैं मारवाड़ी में. Yeah, things like that. Like, the achars, the fermented foods, the pickles, like things that have been preserved in natural substances and fermented over time. Like those are the things that help you replenish your gut bacteria. And if you have it locally, the better. Because local bacteria are जहाँ आप रहते हो. So you are in sync with earth. आप अपना लोकल खाओगे. Why do we say vocal for local? Because आप अपना लोकल फूड खाओगे तो लोकल फूड में जो बैक्टीरिया, that is what you're exposed to on a day-in-day basis.
Correct.
Because the gut microbiota changes when you move to the US. A person in Japan who is usually very fit, only 4.5% obese people in the world. In Japan. Right? Compared to India, which is such a poor country and is the second most obese nation in the world. Right, has malnourishment and has the second most obese nation in the world, right? Now, the same person in Japan, if they move to India or if they move to America, they have a 90% chance of becoming obese. Because their microbiome and their organic surroundings and ecosystem change. So your microbiota...
So many things play a role in one's life.
No, absolutely. So that's why we say that, sometimes we don't want to confuse our patients. We don't want to put in too much information into their head.
So this information is really useful.
So the intention is to basically create an ecosystem for the patient's life and circle and inform them about all the decisions that they need to make. They need to make the right decisions in their ecosystem and give them enough training to, our tagline is be your own health coach.
Okay.
In that sense.
That is really cool because I had no idea कि अपने surrounding में भी रहने से you get that kind of micro.
There's a difference between vaginal babies and C-section babies. C-section babies are twice as prone to obesity, twice as prone to diabetes, twice as prone to heart pressure, twice as prone to blood
Why?
pressure. It's because the microbiome is different. When the babies pass through the vaginal canal, they have a different microbiome. And when babies pass through stomach, they have a different microbiome. Doctors are now working on creating napkins which mimics the vagina's microbiome, so that the moment the baby comes out in a C-section, they'll wrap them up in a microbiome towel so that the babies get the microbiome of the vagina of the mother.
My goodness.
So
much research work is going on around the world.
oh yeah,
while
so
we do
because
not know anything.
people are like in India, C-section has become more normal than normal deliveries.
Yeah,
People
yeah.
prefer C-sections now. You know, so breastfeeding, so important. Like there are children who are not on breastfeed anymore. The children who take formula milk, right? Breastfeeding has the highest amount of microbes that you could get for a baby, for their learning curve and for their healthy development. But now they are taking formula milk and pushing probiotics and prebiotics from the breast milk or from the mother's breast to inject it so that so the baby gets the right amount of probiotics and microbiota. So skin microbiome is different, your face microbiome is different, your hair microbiome is different. We are actually more than a trillion cells of bacteria.
I read a quote which said ki the food you eat is how your body changes
Absolutely.
in around 90 days or something.
If you see a Rubik's Cube, it has a quadrillion million ways in which it can be solved. Now imagine the number of food groups that we have.
My goodness.
Again, like it's about like there are certain things which you need to think about universally, and there are certain things which you need to about locally. Like your health has to be a local decision. How do I survive? Survival of the fittest.
So do you believe in manifestation, vibration and all these things?
Manifestation is not a psychological concept, it's an absolutely physical concept.
No, as in you believe in vibration?
No, that's what I'm saying. That you are referring to vibration and manifestation in terms of believing. There's nothing to believe, it's true. It's a fact. If you have to draw an elephant right now, you will think about it and then your hands will work. It is the same thing with manifestation. You think about something and then you decide to, just like I said, if you prioritize that manifestation, of course it will materialize.
Okay.
It's not a priority. You might die trying, right?
Correct.
But if you are thinking about what you want to do, right? If you don't think of the correct steps and try to keep correcting yourself at every step that you're wrong, you will ultimately manifest it. So it is not a thing that people should believe in. It is an absolutely real thing. There's nothing to believe in it.
Okay. You have to believe it, its presence. It is happening.
Yeah, I'm just saying that if I want to switch off the AC, I have to pick this up and I have to click the button to close it. I have to think about it first.
Correct.
And then my hand will go to that button, right? My physical reaction is based on my mental reaction. So what is manifestation? It is you thinking something and then you're attracting something through vibrations and then you're doing it. If I say that, I want to do a podcast with, say, Rithik Roshan, now I need to go those 100 steps where I deserve to have Rithik Roshan on my show.
Correct.
Right? You need to go on those 1,000 steps before you get Akash Ambani or Mukesh Ambani or Isha Ambani on your show. Right? Now, how you get there is because you keep talking about it. Someday someone notices and you get it. So I'm just saying it's a physical law. It's not a psychological law where how most people put it.
That is very different from what I used to think about it. That is a very
I'm just saying that
thing.
you have to think about it as a physical concept. Because the moment you start thinking about it as a physical concept, your mind shift changes.
Correct.
You say that, okay, this is my target. These are the 10 steps that I need to follow. Trust me, if you write it down, there's nothing that will stop you. The only thing is you have to be at it. That has to be your priority number one. Doing multiple things never works. If you think ye side mein karenge, fir ye side mein karenge, fir ye side mein karenge, of course you're ignoring your priorities.
Priorities will get distributed.
So you have to decide what is your priority. I always tell patients that you will get what you deserve.
This is my motto too.
You will
get in life what
absolutely.
you deserve.
You will whatever you prioritize, you will get it.
Correct.
And that's manifestation for me.
I was asking two reasons. This and the other one is, are you vegetarian or non-vegetarian?
I'm sort of mixed, like mostly vegetarian though.
So because I've heard a lot of people say when a chicken dies, when you kill the animal, it induces a lot of vibration, negative vibration, because it's crying, it's praying for it not to die, and then you eat that and it goes inside your body and that kind of vibrates in your body. So
I don't think that has any medical basis, to be honest. I think that's more of a belief system that people would want to follow. There is I'd like to bring the Bhagavad Gita here. I'm a big fan of the Bhagavad Gita. I'm not a religious person. I'm a spiritual person, but I follow the Bhagavad Gita as a book of philosophy. Now, in the first chapter, Arjun goes to Krishna and he says that, this is Kurukshetra. These are my own people. These are my own chachas, my own uncles, my own aunts, my own people, my own tailors, my own teachers, and I'm here to kill them. What do I do, Krishna? How can I kill my own people? And Krishna teaches him a concept of Swadharma, right? Swadharma is basically, in a layman's language, that you need to do your duty, irrespective of what it follows. Like, for example, a soldier is supposed to kill at war.
correct.
Right? Should they feel guilty that they killed a human being? No.
It's their duty.
It's a duty, right? It's the same way, it's a belief system that you're talking about. If I do not believe that I've done something wrong, I won't have karma. Karma is not a teacher. Karma is not causality, it is a teacher. Like, for example, if you're suffering, you are facing karma. That's because karma is teaching you.
Teaching you, correct.
That you're doing something wrong, you're not happy, you're doing something wrong, you're not happy. And the moment you're happy is because you've gotten out of that karmic cycle. Where you've realized ki I was doing something wrong. I've gotten out of that cycle and now I'm happy. So karma is a teacher. It is not causality कि हम कुछ खराब करेंगे तो अच्छा होगा. There are people who say kill people at war. Do they have bad karma that someone in their family has to die?
Not that I know of.
No, I'm just saying. Like if a butcher is doing his job, because people don't realize that the Bhagavad Gita is actually the second Gita in the Mahabharata. The first Gita is the Bodh Gita, which is a butcher's song.
Butcher's song.
The butcher's song. He's a butcher in a village and he gives, like a whole Gita. I haven't read it, but he gives the whole Gita because Gita is a song. Arjuna and Krishna are singing a song. That's the Bhagavad Gita. And in the same way, there's the Bodh Gita, which is basically where the butcher is singing a song and teaching philosophy of life. So it's the same thing. A butcher's job is to, provide food. If you go to the Antarctic, will you find vegetation there?
No.
If you go to the Antarctic, when you raise salmon fish to eat, will you find vegetation there? You have no option but to eat. In equatorial plains, as a diet advice, I do feel plant-based diets are better in people living in equatorial plains. But this vibration of negative energy and positive energy is based on your belief. If you were a Jain, I would say that yes, that belief system, if it is seeped into you, conditioned into your head, then yes, you will feel bad if you eat it outside. But if it's not something, why is America that prosperous then? Why is Europe that prosperous then? America is 8 times richer than us.
Correct.
Europe is 5 times richer than us combined. Right? They have everything possible. Are they crying or out of pain? The highest blue zones in the world are there. Some of the highest, best technologies are there. Some of the biggest brains are there. I mean, I'm not saying India is any less. I'm a patriot. And I believe that India has a lot to give to the world. But are they crying there when they're cutting beef and everything?
They're not.
I'm not saying that having a largely plant diet is not beneficial. I do believe in terms of statistics, a largely plant diet, say 80 to 90%, should come from plant material. Okay. Right? And I do feel that there's an overconsumption of animal protein. There's an overconsumption of animal food, and that should be limited. Right? But this point you said of the negative vibration, that part I feel that is more comes from a belief system, comes from a religious belief system.
No scientific.
There's no scientific evidence for that.
Okay, because I've seen
there's scientific evidence for plants though.
Like
A.J.C. Bose wrote.
Yeah.
Dr. A.J.C. Bose was the one who figured that even plants have feelings. Yes, they basically saw that the plant is shivering when a stimuli was touched to them. And not just a touch me plant. It's basically because it's rooted. He discovered that plants have also feelings. When you're cutting plants, when you're growing soy, you are maybe destroying tons and tons of topsoil. You're destroying tons and tons of bacteria. So the same problems that are there with, say, animal protein sources, the same problems are there with vegetation sources. The same earth which used to make food for 2 billion people now makes food for 10 billion people.
Correct.
And you want to grow 5 times the amount of vegetable crop for the same, because animals take small space.
Yeah.
Crops take huge space. Now in that huge space, imagine the topsoil you're eroding. Imagine the water table you're eroding to feed 10 billion people. or 9 billion people.
I guess we have struck it good.
Because in order to make these soy plantations and those big wheat plantations, you have to kill so many animals who have no idea. You have to kill all the small animals of that field just so that you could grow the crops there.
Okay, because we don't have so much of land with ourselves.
There's limited land and there's people are finite.
Yeah.
So, like it's again, like I'm neither of a belief system. I feel like, again, like it is basically what is locally available to you. If you're in the North Pole studying physics, when you have no vegetation, will you order $500 ka salary?
No.
You might take 100 theplas from here, but how long will that last? Right? But that is also coming from India. That's not the local microbiome there. Locally, what will you have?
They have what they have when they have that options.
Yeah. So I feel that, again, it's a very personal decision. It's based on what you feel good about. It's based on what helps you thrive. Because we have 120 years. Your higher purpose should be clear of what you're adding to the world.
Okay.
I feel once your higher purpose is clear, everything else
Just
keeps going as a circle. I mean, if you feel the negative vibrations and if it is affecting your stomach, stop it. If it is not affecting your stomach and you're highly successful and you're doing really well, Mark Zuckerberg just opened his beef farm. He's probably one of the most successful entrepreneurs in the world. He owned his beef farm because he thought that the quality of beef should be better to serve in his plate. Right? So I'm not for or against anything. Right?
Obviously, everyone has their own choices. So.
Yeah, he has the Zuckerberg Foundation. He has Facebook, WhatsApp. Like he literally owns
Meta, everything social.
Everything socially earns, right? And I mean, after that point of time, whatever you do, it is based on your personal peace of mind.
Correct. So that is why the food he takes in, it matters a lot to him.
I do feel, yes, as far as cruelty is concerned, I do feel that a lot of people in the world, in order to grow animals and sell their protein, there is cruelty to animals. I do feel that there are certain laws and restrictions and rules, and they say dignified death that needs to be followed when you're treating or when you're dealing with animals. I think that is very important, because I do agree that there are a lot of people who are extremely cruel, like especially like there's free range eggs. Free range eggs are when chickens are allowed to roam free in the garden. And then there is poultry egg where एक छोटा बक्सा में उनको feed किया जाता है. That I'm not in agreement with.
Just to raise eggs.
Yeah, like I'm saying that poultry once it comes from like naturally healthy poultry and comes from like chickens or like places where they're allowed to mature freely. I think that is very important in terms of a poultry farm and system where all ethical rules and applications are followed.
Okay, so you want even if people are
like
eating,
cruelty is not correct.
Yeah, cruelty is not correct because I am a Jain, so I cannot eat anything non-veg even if it is not cruel.
Again, see, that's built into your belief system.
It is in my belief system.
It is because it's been ingrained by your belief system. So if you have something like that, you will feel guilty. You'll feel the negative vibration maybe.
Not guilty. It's not like I'll feel guilty, but I cannot comprehend an animal being killed for my taste buds.
Absolutely. And if that works for you, then you should have only plant material. Right? Because I want you to thrive.
Correct.
For you to thrive, if that's what your thinking is, I will accept it. Now the thing is, you and I might have different views, but I will respect your views. I think that's how an ecosystem works.
Correct.
Because every cell has apoptosis encoded into their genes, which is cell death. So aapko bhi marna hai, mere ko bhi marna hai. There are good and bad bacteria, and you need to have both in order to survive. You cannot have only good bacteria in your body. If you have only good bacteria, you will die.
Just like you have good fats, bad fats.
There's no such thing.
Good fat?
There's no good fat, bad fat.
There isn't?
No. It's a fake concept created by people to market their products.
I've also read a fake concept of brown rice, white rice. Like,
all rubbish.
Because I started eating brown rice because of marketing. That it's really healthy and all that.
See, the thing is, I've worked with clinical research companies, pharma companies, healthcare companies for a long time. It's a lobbying game. Like, it's people who produce soy do research on soy. People who don't have soy and sell chickens, they debunk soy. People who make sugary products bring out articles on how sugar is important. The American Heart Association is funded by KFC.
Do you know Johnny Harris? by any chance? So he's a journalist, and I was watching one of his videos. I'm a huge fan of him, and I was watching one of his videos, and he told how America sold milk to the world. Actually, milk was not required by us, by our body, which is why a lot of people, you must be knowing, are lactose intolerant. He said that actually America had a ton of milk produce, which was in excess, and they had excess cheese, and they did not know what to do with that, and they thought that it's gonna go wasted.
So in India, around, if you look at North India, around 60% are lactose tolerant and 33 to 35% are non-tolerant, and a few percentage are maybe allergic. And in South India, it's the reverse. In South India, because coconut is their staple food, so in South India, you'll find 60 to 70% who are intolerant.
Okay.
A very less use of milk, and 33-40% who are tolerant.
Actually, according to his reports, the findings were that what America did, they sold the milk to children. They put on advertisements, marketing that milk is good for your health, this and that, and people bought it. They even rolled out few free samples of milk for people to buy. And then he told that they did a research on human beings. When a toddler child is born, there's no need for like cow's milk for them, because it's very difficult for them to digest. And as we keep on, like I kept on drinking milk years and years and years. That is how I became tolerant. It might be that my body was not tolerant to it in the beginning. Then after years and years of consistently drinking milk, I became tolerant.
So again, I have very mixed views on that, to be honest. I feel like I see the world as it is today.
Okay.
Right? Like, so for example, if today you're tolerant, great.
I don't mind.
I'm just saying that because I would also argue that animal cruelty on milk is higher than chicken. Have you seen people extracting milk in factories?
Yeah, I have.
Like, trust me, I've been there.
I have.
Like like cows are forced into boxes.
And they are put syringe.
They put syringe and like milk is extracted in a very painful manner. So again, like I said,
what I'm trying to get at is how does one differentiate between the products that they are being marketed at, right? Like rice, we're being sold brown rice all of a sudden that it's really healthy, it's this and that. Suddenly you must have seen one guy who told that oats is not healthy, you should not have oats. He went really viral saying that oats is not
I think
good.
it's very important to not think about it. I'm being very honest with you. I think people who need to research it, people who are healthcare providers, they should research it and they should think about it. I think people should think about what works for you.
Okay, do what suits you best.
Do what suits you best. Do what works for you. If you're having milk and you're not having gas, if you're okay, if your stomach is fine, if your bowel movement is fine, how does it fucking matter?
Okay, correct.
I'm just saying, like,
Correct.
I'm saying do what works for you, man. Like, again, like I keep saying that it's priority. Like, what are you prioritizing in your list? Whatever you're prioritizing, that's your first priority. And then food, say, could be your second or third or fourth priority. And that's where you say that, okay, these things are working for me. Being mindful is the most important thing. Like, people are not very easily able to maintain food diaries. But I say, think about the food that you're eating and how you feel about it in 2 hours.
Okay.
Just for a few days. See, my intention is for you to experiment with things, right? Turn around food and see different food groups that are working or not working for you. Have fermented food for 4 days and see if it's working for you.
So you don't have a list like you should eat these things in the morning, like you should eat protein, because I've been recommended that protein in the morning, first thing in the morning is really good. Fiber first thing in the morning is good. Fruits should not be consumed in the morning, and things like this. Do you not follow these things? Or?
No, so again, there is no rule and regulation. Like there are certain rules and regulations. Protein is very important.
First thing in the morning, right?
No, it's not about first thing in the morning. I feel like it depends on how long you've been fasting for. Like in the sense that if you've been fasting for 12 hours, I think fat is the best way to break your fast. Having oil pulling, coconut oil, जो Ayurvedic treat होता है, having MCT oil, taking water with a pinch of salt if you don't have high blood pressure to wake up your nervous system, right?
Not coffee.
No, not at all. Absolutely.
First
not.
thing.
Absolutely not. Having an oil, then having fiber, and then probably having protein. A lot of athletes, they mix protein whey with oats overnight.
Yeah.
Right, and they mix it with different things like fruits and vegetables. Again, you can go to 100 different influencers and they will tell you 100 different things.
Correct.
What works for you? if you're having protein first thing in the morning, are you being able to digest it properly? Are you being able to, like, not burp and be healthy and fine? You could wake up in the morning and have a glass of water with a little salt in it. You could take like
Why
MCT
salt?
oil. No,
To
salt,
wake
it
up,
just wakes up your nervous system.
Okay.
And then maybe after half an hour, take a bit of coffee if you're doing a pre-workout. I mean, depends on how well you work on a fasted state.
Basically, what I do is personally, I wake up. The first thing I drink is obviously water, and after a minute, I make coffee, black coffee, drink it, and then go to the gym. So
I mean, if it works for you.
doesn't cause me any problem.
Okay. But see, again, like personally, I
Coffee
feel like...
first thing is not correct.
No, of course. I mean, because it raises your cortisol to a higher level than it should. So I feel like coffee should be had maybe a little bit later. And as far as... So if you're doing workout immediately, then I won't say it's a very bad option, because black coffee before workout can work as a pre-workout.
Yeah.
But, like, different people react to fasted states differently. Like, if you were my patient, I would see how well are you lifting after you fasted for 12 hours just on black coffee. If you're lifting just fine, or if you're having progressive load week on week, then I would say that's great. But if you're not, then you need to fuel yourself. Because athletes fuel themselves. Very few athletes to, go fasted on a run or do whatever on a fasted state.
Because what I read that when you sleep overnight, body consumes all the carbs. What you remain is with fat, and when you go to gym first thing in the morning, you're burning that fat. You
There's a lot of glycogen and carbs stored in your muscles and fiber. It's that's not true at all.
been feeding on so many false lies.
No, see, the thing is that there's always a scientific and medical perspective, and there's a health influencer perspective. Like, you can go to 100 different health influencer channels, and everyone will tell you something different.
Yeah.
And again, like, see, the thing is that you can't deny anything that they're saying. You can't logically refute what they're saying, because that's working for them. It's working well for their patients. I will say this again. You can go for 10 different options and all 10 work for you. I want to know which one you're happy with.
Okay.
Right? If you say, I'm the happiest, I'm a Jain, I'm the happiest with the vegan option because I have multiple food options. I can do this, I can do that, I can thrive. That's what I want to hear. That out of the 10 options that I've tried, this is what I always have gone back to.
Okay. What suits you the best is the
What
best
suits
for
you the best? Like, mindfulness is the first art you need to learn. It's basically eat when you're hungry. Don't eat when you're not hungry. Like, we have this concept of force feeding children, एक खा नहीं रहा 2 बज गया, एक खा नहीं रहा 5 बज गया, खा नहीं रहा 8 बज रहा. If the child is hungry, they'll ask for food. If you're hungry, eat. If you don't feel like eating the whole day, don't eat.
Okay.
There is no rule and regulation. It's like when you're feeling hungry, that's because your brain is producing that ghrelin hormone to eat. And then you need to be so mindful that when you're eating, you need to think when your leptin is asking you to stop. Ozempic hai na? Have you heard of Ozempic?
Ozempic, yeah.
Ozempic is the most famous drug. You know what it does?
Curbs your hunger.
Yes. You know how? By producing your GLP-1, which engages with leptin. Mindfulness को activate कर रहा है.
Okay, it's making you feel
वो fat थोड़ी burn कर रहा है.
Satiated.
Ozempic is not giving you fat burn. They're not giving you anything. They are basically producing GLP-1 which signals your leptin ki stop. You've had enough.
Okay. So
But it can only happen when you've had enough. And that's when you know that this is a normal amount of food that I should be having.
I never realized how much.
So there's a gut-brain dysbiosis. We think this is normal and this is dieting.
What happens with me while I'm watching a TV? If I'm eating, I'll eat any amount of food. Doesn't matter. I don't feel satiated.
That's what I'm saying is a gut-brain dysbiosis. It's basically you think this is the normal amount of food that you should be eating जो बचपन से खा रहा है.
हाँ.
And Ozempic में लोग इतना खा रहे हैं. Right? And they think that's dieting. That's the problem. This is normal. Your stomach is this big.
This fist.
Only. So now what you need to do is when you have food, you need to chew it enough. Because a lot of people don't chew food.
Yeah.
You need to chew it enough because ऊपर में भी enzymes होता है, pepsin enzymes, जो breaks the carbohydrates. So you need to chew it enough so that it becomes a ball of food smaller than this.
So we have come to the last segment of our podcast. Sadly, it's been a really good podcast, and Anant has given us so much knowledge, which we can go and look at. So now I'll come to the question that a lot of people have been asking. So I know alcohol consumption is not really good, but are there any ways to make it less of a pain? Like, I'm not a huge drinking person. I do not like it at all. But when I sometimes occasionally drink, it gives me a huge headache the next morning, even if I drink a little less amount of alcohol.
I mean, as far as the use of alcohol is concerned, I mean, I come from a very medical perspective where I feel like alcohol shouldn't be taken at all. I mean, at most, maybe a drink a week max. I mean, if you have to. But I mean, again, like that's not something I recommend. I mean, if someone wants to say enjoy a drink maybe once a week or once in 2 weeks, I mean, I would say it's okay. But as far as alcohol metabolism is concerned, I mean, what you need to realize that people who have a high hangover, even with a little amount of alcohol, that's because they lack an enzyme in their stomach called ALDH and ADH. Usually happens more with women, but with men, a lot of people who get high faster or people who have a very bad hangover the next morning is because, so when you drink alcohol, the first place it metabolizes is in your stomach. And in your stomach, you have these enzymes ALDH and ADH, which break down the alcohol. People who lack that enzyme, the alcohol doesn't break down, it directly goes into your intestine and your liver, where it metabolizes into aldehyde, which causes a high or causes a hangover the next day. So basically, it is clear that you might lack that enzyme, because of which that hangover or that headache might come the next day. And also, there are a lot of good ways to reduce the hangover effect. Basically, you can have magnesium as a supplement before you go out drinking, have a fruit before you go out drinking, so that it reduces the intoxication time by 30% and elimination time increases by 45%.
Intoxication time
It's basically getting high
quicker.
So it's like basically you reduce that by 30%. Say if you get high in an hour, you will get high in 2 hours or 1.5 hours or 3 hours, whatever. I mean, based on that calculation. And your elimination times become faster when you have fructose. Fructose comes from fruit.
Okay.
If you mix it with juices, it will have the same thing. Like orange juice with vodka, orange juice with tequila is like the lowest congener, which gives you the least amount of hangover. Right?
Okay.
But at the same time, again, I'm not recommending alcohol to anyone, but again, like for people who drink, you have to take reality as is. I mean, that's what it is. Like having magnesium, having
Magnesium-rich foods are
no magnesium supplements, I would say.
okay.
Having your electrolytes, sodium, potassium, namak ka pani, or like electrolytes ka jo sachets aata hai. If you have electrolytes before you go, if you have magnesium before you start drinking, if after drinking you have 2 to 3 hours before your sleep, I mean that is a good way of sort of minimizing
तो
the
आजकल जो
impact of
टैबलेट्स
alcohol.
आते हैं वो सब में ये
Honestly,
सब भी
I
रहता है
personally
ना.
don't believe in that. I mean, electrolytes हो सकता है. Electrolytes are good. Magnesium is good. I'm honestly not aware of these tablets, these
Okay.
Party Smart tablets.
Yeah, Party
But yeah, like I do feel like if someone follows these general rules,
They're good
fructose,
to go.
magnesium, eating a meal before you go, certain supplements, certain electrolytes, it minimizes the
Effect.
effect.
Okay.
Minimizes the effect and also minimizes the damage it does to your body.
Okay, so another question, which is more harmful among the three, like cigarette, hookah, and vape? Because a lot of young people right now, in an act to look cool, either they smoke hookah and smoking hookah, smoke cigarettes. Smoking cigarettes is basically not as much as a continuous process as vape and hookah are, because once you go in a cafe and you start taking a hookah, you will be there around for an hour or two and you continuously inhale that smoke. The same with vape, you do it all the day long.
So I'll give you two perspectives. The first perspective is my personal, which I feel that any form of smoke is
Smoking,
bad.
correct.
So because whenever you smoke, there is basically coal tar getting deposited in your lung in some way, because there's nicotine and there's other substances that are mixed. So I feel like smoking in any form, you're burning
Should not
something,
be done.
it should not be taken.
What are
That's-
that coal tar being deposited? What problems can it cause? Like
No, of course, it'll lower your lung function. And ultimately, it can develop to tumors, can develop to cancers, can develop to blockages of arteries, which causes heart attack. A lot of people neglect to see the fact that smoking can cause more heart problems than lung problems. But anyway, having said that, I think that's my personal opinion of any form of smoking is bad.
bad.
If you look at it from the medical perspective, honestly, vaping or shisha doesn't have enough medical data.
Okay.
Like smoking 50 साल से पढ़ रहे हैं, 1950-60 से उसका research हो रहा है. Vaping and shisha is a very recent thing. We don't have enough data points to compare. It's like comparing apples and oranges. But as far as vaping is concerned, they found a disease called EVALI, which is basically electronic cigarette vaping associated lung injury
Okay.
that they found through vaping. That happens again. It's not on a lot of cohort of people. Like medically, I mean, honestly, like if you had to compare, they would say medically slightly better than smoking in some way. That's not my personal opinion.
Okay.
That's like what research says that. But again, like we don't have enough data. Like lung
What
cancer
I've-
का 50 साल का डेटा है and vaping का 2
Vaping
साल का
का-
भी डेटा नहीं है.
What I tell my friends is not to do it at all. I hate smoking and I've never tried it. Neither do I want to try it. But even the smoke makes me nauseous. And what justification people give when they try shisha is that it is not harmful. It's natural. कुछ नहीं होता इससे. And especially vape, they say it's electronic.
But
कुछ नहीं
shisha
होता.
तो is definitely worse than smoking.
Smoking, yeah.
For sure. I hate those people who smoke shisha and then they're like, I'm not a smoker. That's rubbish. You're a smoker.
Same with vape, because I have a friend who inhales vape all day long, and after a certain point of time, I was told that she was having panic attacks because of that vape.
Okay. I'm not
Even
aware
that,
of that, yeah.
panic attacks and withdrawal symptoms, like could not give up the vape.
Yeah, because see, again, you're taking nicotine in all three systems, whether it's a smoking shisha or a vape or a cigarette. I mean, nicotine is what you get addicted to, right? That's the
okay.
addiction part. As far as the smoke part is concerned, I mean, again, like medically, you would say vaping is slight. Again, there's no enough data. Vaping का 2-3 साल का डेटा है, अब तो 20 साल बाद पता चलेगा ना क्या हो रहा है.
20 साल बाद जो
Because
vape कर रहे हैं, उन लोग रहेंगे
you
भी
need
नहीं
patients who vape, who have 20 years of data to see कि उनको क्या हुआ. With lung cancer, you know कि smoking करते करते there is a exact causality has been proved. अब vape तो अभी चालू हुआ है, अभी कैसे पता चलेगा?
करेक्ट. तब तक तो
20 साल बाद समझ में आएगा कि हाँ वेपिंग खराब था.
तब तक जो वेप
जब
करे
problem start
रेगुलर
हो
बेसिस पे,
जाएगा.
I do not think they'll live more 20 years if they keep on vaping at the pace that they are vaping right now.
I mean, it's difficult for me to answer that question, but God knows.
Because I've seen so many videos on people getting admitted to hospital, children getting admitted to hospital because of their vaping.
Achha.
And it's a very big issue.
Right.
Okay, which foods should we avoid to
Ultra
live longer?
processed foods.
Okay.
I mean, the more real you have, the more local you have. There is no specific food I would say is good or bad for you. It depends on your tolerances of your body and the allergy levels of your body. But the only thing that I would recommend is that sugar has no nutritive value. So minimize the sugar that you have, because it's just a dopamine response system. And apart from sugar, I would say have real food, which is cooked, freshly grown around you and around your state
Cooked
and
or
city.
boiled, both are good.
Yeah, I mean, again, that depends on the tolerance of what you're making, what you're eating. I mean, the two things that I would say are important is not having ultra processed foods and minimizing sugar levels. And when I say sugar, I mean real table sugar.
Okay.
Don't mean carbohydrates.
So stevia sugar alternative, is that good to take? Dates, jaggery,
Dates are very good.
dates.
Jaggery, I'm not so sure, but dates definitely are better because they have a low glycemic index. They don't increase your sugar spikes in the body. So date sugar is really good. Dates having a form of sweeteners. Stevia, again, all sweeteners are very good. Contrary to popular belief, they do not cause cancer or they're not harmful for health. You can have these forms of sugar for sure. Like, I mean, the table sugar, जो चीनी चाय में डलता है. I think minimizing that is important, and ultra processed foods is important. I think if you do that, I think you'll start on the right path at least.
What about ice creams? Ice creams, good.
Again, if it's ultra processed, like I say, if you can make ice cream at home, go have it.
Ice cream at home, okay.
Yeah, like add allulose or add stevia or add some form of sweetened sugar that, makes it palatable. And say, like, the ice cream I have is the almond milk stevia ice cream. I know it's a very fancy thing to do, but I can afford it now. So it's basically like, almond milk ke sang, they have stevia in different flavors and they have it. I'm not justifying the preservatives it has, but I'm just saying ki I'm not against anything. I'm just against again, you can't stop everything in life. And you can't go zero on something. I'm just saying minimize the ultra processed food and minimize the sugar. That's the best thing you can do as this first step to your health journey.
Okay. And जैसे हम लोग रोटी में फलका में घी लेते हैं, is that healthy? Because
again, that's a very big perspective. There's no one. If you take ghee in roti, right? Think of Ankit Bayanpuria, right? He has 10 rotis with dollops of ghee. He's the strongest athlete in the country, Right?
Okay.
So I'm saying that this whole concept of कि ये अच्छा है कि ये अच्छा है कि ये खराब
जो
है कि ये
suit
खराब
करता है
है,
उसे।
जो सूट करता है, जो चीज़ आपके लिए वर्क करे वो अच्छा है. I mean, there's nothing. Ghee is a fat, roti is a carb. If you have 2 rotis and ghee the whole day and everything else you're eating is healthy, then go for it.
Okay, because वो someone was telling घी में triglycerides है, उससे ये हो
सब
जाएगा,
चीज़
ये
में
हो
सब
जाएगा.
होता है. देखिए, सब चीज़ में सब होता है. I mean, again, like you can't start counting these things. ये सब जो micro analyzing it's good for content. It's not good for real life.
Literally, it's literally everything people are pointing and picking
I
कि
can
ये
show
खराब है,
you
ये
good
खराब
and
है.
bad videos, and not just for products and food, for pharma also, for scientific concepts also. There is a huge part of the world which does not believe in Newton's laws. There's a huge part of the world which does not believe in thermodynamics. Like,
There's
I'm
this
just
part of
saying.
world which believes the earth is flat.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. That it's just like belief systems are very different for different people, and it's great for content. But instead of micro-analyzing what's good and bad, I mean, see what works for you. But yes, as a general advice, something that we've seen across the board is minimize your sugar. And
Sugar.
minimize your processed food.
Minimize preservative heavy food and sugar foods.
Absolutely.
Okay, I guess that is it for the episode 3 of the podcast. I really had a good time with Anant. I hope he had a good time with me too. And go watch his podcast too. You can plug your show.
No, absolutely. Thank you, Shranj, for having me. It's been wonderful talking to you. Gave me a lot of perspective talking to you. And it was wonderful. I hope your channel grows to leaps and bounds.
Thank you. Your podcast show name?
Infinite Health by Anant Agarwal.
So you can watch Anant on Infinite Health, his podcast show on YouTube, and follow his Instagram too. Follow my Instagram too, and keep subscribing and liking the video. Thank you so much, and we'll take it to the next episode.
Thank you so much.